Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, one of 23 attorneys general suing the Trump administration over its executive order attempting to ban birthright citizenship. Plus, there was this remarkable scene at a national prayer service in Washington today.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
That is the Episcopal Bishop of Washington urging Donald Trump to do something that isn't natural for him. Show mercy. But we begin tonight with the completion of the coup. Just over 4 years ago, Donald Trump, in a last-ditch effort to try to stay in power after losing the 2020 election, unleashed an army of his MAGA supporters on the U.S. Capitol. We all watched live and in horror as the violence ensued that day. More than 140 police officers were injured, and several Trump supporters died during the attack. While Trump's coup attempt failed that day, he never stopped attacking the courts, the integrity of the vote, and the rule of law, insisting that he stood above them all. Well, yesterday, in the same place in the Capitol where his supporters tried to overturn our democracy, Donald Trump celebrated his triumph in completing the coup 4 years later, and once again was sworn in as president. It was just a bizarre day from start to finish, frankly, with this remarkable scene from Elon Musk, where he made a very suggestive hand gesture.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Well, that moment has gone viral and even made it into the confirmation hearing this morning for Trump's pick for UN Ambassador Elise Stefanik.
What do you think of Elon Musk, perhaps the president's most visible advisor, doing 2 Heil Hitler salutes last night at the president's televised rally?
No, Elon Musk did not do those salutes. I was not at the rally, but I can tell you I've been at many rallies with Elon Musk, who loves to cheer when President Trump says we need to send, our U.S. space program to Mars. Elon Musk is a visionary.
That was about Mars. Trump's first day in office ended with a final step in the coup. He pardoned nearly all of the more than 1,500 insurrectionists charged in connection with the attack that he called for. 14 others had their sentences commuted, most of whom were convicted of seditious conspiracy. And that long list of pardons is not just people who were charged with trespassing or nonviolent crimes like this guy, Kevin Seafried, who you may remember for carrying a Confederate flag into the Capitol, something that didn't even happen during the Civil War. He was sentenced to 3 years and was the first rioter to interact with U.S. Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, who heroically led the mob away from the Senate chamber. Also on the pardon list were some of the most violent insurrectionists, including the nearly 200 people charged with attacking police officers that day with flagpoles, tasers, batons, wooden planks, anything they could get their hands on. There's Jack Whitten, who received a nearly 5-year sentence for assaulting police officers using a metal crutch, for kicking an officer on the ground, and for dragging an officer into the mob. You have Peter Schwartz, who was serving a 14-year sentence for engaging in a series of assaults on police officers, including repeatedly using pepper spray on them and joining in on the mob that crushed out Officer Daniel Hodges in a Capitol doorway. And there is David Dempsey, who was serving 20 years for assault on law enforcement with a deadly or dangerous weapon. In his case, he was using a flagpole and police shield against the police. The get-out-of-jail-free cards also extended to those from extremist militia groups who helped plan the attack. Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys, who was serving a 22-year prison sentence for seditious conspiracy, pardoned. Elmer Stewart Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers, who was serving 18 years on the same charge, had his sentence commuted. No harm, no foul, right? Of course, I'm sure that these now pardoned insurrectionists are showing contrition for their actions, right? Oh, no. Mm-mm. You may remember Jacob Chansley, a.k.a. the QAnon shaman. His response to receiving a pardon and no longer being a felon was, quote, "I'm going to buy me some mother effing guns." Feel safer yet? And what about those police officers who were on the receiving end of the attacks by the very people who Trump has called patriots and hostages?
He's been promising these presidential pardons for those that committed crimes on January 6th in participation with the attack on the Capitol ever since day one. And so the American people own this decision. You chose this. You elected this man as president. And now you are responsible for these pardons. These individuals and many more like them have been emboldened. Donald Trump announced to America a new era of government lawlessness, and that if you commit crimes on his behalf, you will not face accountability.
Michael Fanone spent the morning at a courthouse seeking protective orders against those who assaulted him. Former Sergeant Aquilino Gonell, who was nearly crushed to death at the hands of the mob, shared a screenshot of the numerous victim notifications he received from the Justice Department of all those who attacked him who had been released. Look, Trump has long been clear that he was going to pardon his MAGA insurrectionists. But even among Republicans, few believe that the man who claimed to be all about law and order and the best friend to law enforcement would go so far as to release those who so violently attacked the police. That included Republican leaders who are now silent, including Trump's new non-Mike Pence vice president, who claimed that this wouldn't happen.
Do you believe that someone who assaulted a law enforcement officer on January 6th deserves a pardon?
No, I think what the president said and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance has said is that peaceful protesters should be pardoned, but violent criminals should not. That's a simple determination.
If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned.
Of course, if somebody was beating up a police officer at January 6th, he's not going to do that.
Joining me now is former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who was assaulted by the now pardoned violent mob that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Also joining me, former Congressman David Jolly and former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance, MSNBC legal analyst and professor at the University of Alabama School of Law. Harry Dunn, what do you make of the promises that Donald Trump would not pardon, according to his supporters on Capitol Hill, including his now vice president, and the fact that he did exactly that, pardoned some of the most violent insurrectionists from that day?
So thanks for having me on. Why are people surprised? Why are people surprised? People that are shocked by this outrageous, egregious act against this country, against these police officers. If you're shocked, then you haven't been paying attention. Donald Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. He said it from day one. And anybody expecting anything different out of him, what is wrong? It's on us. It's on us. Like for 4 years, me and the other officers who testified before Congress, we haven't had our hands out. We haven't asked for anything except accountability. And it's gone. It's gone. Like they were able to say easily that the foot soldiers had been arrested, and yeah, that was great. And I was like, yo, get everybody, even Donald Trump. That was my goal. That was my plea. That didn't happen. And now the foot soldiers aren't even responsible anymore. If there's no record, I mean, there's a record of it. Obviously, the record doesn't go away thanks to, the Supreme Court allowing the report, Jack Smith's report, to be released. But even that was in jeopardy. But why is anybody surprised, man? Like, you just haven't been paying attention. Donald Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. And anybody that expect different, then that's on you.
Yeah. David Jolly, I just have to show the split screen, because yesterday when I was watching the inauguration, it really was chilling for me to see Donald Trump being applauded, including by some Democrats who, for whatever reason, felt the need to show up to this event, to stand around with billionaires. And it's the same exact space where these people were smearing feces, beating up police officers, crowding into the place, shoving police officers, in some cases really harming them, tasing them. It's the same space, David. It's sacrilege, it seems to me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Joy, I think millions of Americans yesterday were unsettled by seeing Donald Trump inaugurated a second time, and unsettled by the reception he received, not just from Republicans, but as you mentioned, by Democrats trying to hold to the norms, that trying to make the inauguration feel familiar. It should not be familiar. Donald Trump is an oath breaker, and his words cannot be trusted. His promises cannot be trusted. His actions cannot be trusted. Donald Trump was a danger to the republic when he was president the first time. That's why he was charged with conspiracy to defraud the American people. We know what he did to instigate the violence on January 6th. Donald Trump was a threat to the republic when he was out of office. That's why he was charged with mishandling classified information. And he remains a threat to the republic now, once again as president. And in exercising the pardon authority, he demonstrated that. You went through the list of people who were charged for crimes for assaulting police officers. We also know the ideologies and the violent rhetoric of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and others. Joy, one of the people he pardoned just a few months back was arrested for trying to board a flight to Russia to fight for the Russian army against Ukraine. That is also somebody that Donald Trump gave a pardon to. And so where Donald Trump remains a threat, he unleashed a crowd of people that also remain a threat.